Okay, we are live. All right, what's up, Kevin?
Hey, happy to be on your channel. I'm a huge fan. I love your live streams and I can't wait for your future content.
Oh man, honestly, but I really appreciate it, and I'm also very happy that very happy to see where you're going with your work. So I'll always be supporting you as well. So I'm very happy that we can have this discussion.
It should be a good one. So, Frank, what are we discussing? Let's tell the viewers.
Yeah, sure. So today we're gonna be discussing which instrument is better, piano or guitar. Well, I guess maybe not necessarily which one's better, but just why we like our instruments because I don't believe in such as the best instrument. It's more just like, like just to get some opinions, and just to see what we think about our respective instruments. Because I know you, Kev, you are a guitar player, and me, I'm a piano player, and actually that's pretty much besides some vocal training that I'm doing right now. Most of the stuff that I do is just piano work, so I can speak on behalf of my expertise, and then you can speak on behalf of yours, and then we'll just see where this takes us.
Yeah, I definitely agree that neither one is actually like better. It's just that
Right.
they both have their own strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly.
So, I think this is a great opportunity for us to highlight the benefits of each instrument
Yeah,
coming from
exactly.
our
And
experience.
exactly. And to also, just give the viewers, anyone who's trying to get into music, give them sort of like a perspective, as to, which piano, which instrument would be better for them. Cause like Kevin, you've been playing the piano for quite a while now, right?
The guitar. So, yeah,
So
so for
yes, that's right, the
guitar,
guitar.
I technically started like when I was really young, like 6 years old, but I wasn't
Right.
serious about it. Like I
Uh-huh.
didn't actually practice at all. Like I wanted to get a guitar when I was very young, and I did,
Right.
because I was inspired by a music teacher I had in like grade one. But I
Hmm.
didn't actually have any discipline to practice. So I really would say that I started when I was about 12 years old or something, because when
Hmm.
I was in grade seven, there was a guitar class that we all had to take. So I'd say that's really when I
Okay.
started, but I still wasn't that into it. And then I kind of got more into it in high school. But I guess I can
Nice.
start with some of the benefits I see of guitar in general.
Sure. No, absolutely. And for me, I've been playing piano, gosh, how long now? Oh, yeah, pretty much since I was a child. I just it's actually a funny story. My one of my really good buddies of mine, he actually had a piano, and when I saw it, I was like, "Yo, mom, I want to try this thing here." So, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of Asian kids, they sort of, like our family sort of push, you to play either the piano or the violin as a kid. So I was that odd kid, and most kids are like, I don't ever want to touch the piano again. I hated it. It was terrible. My mom or my dad, forced me to play the piano or the violin. I was that odd kid that said, I actually kind of enjoyed doing this. Can you actually, like, I was like, mom, please, I really want to sign up for piano lessons. And so that's how I got started. And I think I started playing piano maybe when I was around like six, yeah, maybe around like 6 years old. So, and at the beginning it was just for fun, and then I kind of just and then I took a break from the piano maybe around high school because I wanted to pursue my tennis career. I wanted to like be a good tennis player, but that never happened. And then I think throughout university I didn't really touch the piano. I just never thought about it. Just thought, what, just forget about it. And then I think during COVID, when COVID hit, that's really when I started to, I'll go back to the piano and I really started to enjoy it. And now I'm really getting back into it. So definitely I haven't been playing piano for, almost 20 years now. So
Awesome. Do you want me to start with some of the benefits of
sure,
guitar?
sure. Tell me why you think the guitar is great. Let's hear it.
Okay, so to me, one of the things that stands out is that the guitar is an instrument where you can really have a lot of control over the sound of every single note. So definitely with piano, you can control the volume. Like you can choose to have a very soft note, you can get louder. So that's very cool. But with guitar, there are a lot more options than just volume. So like with piano, you can play quietly and you can play loudly. But with every single note, depending on what angle you hit the note, whether you hit the note with your fretting hand instead of picking it, whether you're using fingers instead of a pick, whether you're if you're using fingers, are you using the fingernails versus the pads of the fingers? Like, to me, there are just so many ways to control your tone when you're playing guitar. And it's like every performance always sounds a little bit different, you know? Like with piano, especially if you're using like an electric keyboard instead of like a grand piano, the differences between performance have to do with like the timing of the notes. But on guitar, it is that, but it's even more. It's also that, like, just since the sound is so organically produced by your hands, like even if you play the notes in the exact same timing, it's going to sound different. You're going to have like different tones of each different note. So I think that you just have a lot more ways to express yourself through timbre than you would on piano, because it's not just a matter of quiet and soft. It's also like you can make it more shrill. So if you play closer to the bridge, it's more bright and shrill, and then closer to the neck, it's more soft and mellow. And then if we get into electric guitars, think about all the options we have there. Like electric guitars have tone knobs, so you can, even if you're playing the same way, you can adjust the tone knob to get that to sound different. You can change pickups, like your bridge pickup versus your front pickup. The front pickup will sound more mellow than the bridge pickup. You can have different types of strings. You can control the amount of distortion. And also, it's a lot harder to simulate a guitar than a piano. So if you're good with an audio program like Ableton, Pro Tools, Logic, all those, it's pretty easy to get a somewhat realistic simulation of a piano. Like if you just kind of write some MIDI and you get a good piano simulator that's maybe sampled from like a grand piano or something, you can get a pretty convincing simulation of a piano. But it's way harder to simulate a guitar. So I'm, in general, like, I often appreciate that the instrument I chose to learn was guitar, because when I want a guitar sound, I can play it, and if I want a piano sound, I can simulate it, and it generally works pretty well. So in that way, I would say that guitar is kind of more versatile, because you can always just simulate piano if you want that. But at the same time, I have to admit, piano is just so good at MIDI. Like if you want to enter MIDI notes into your audio program, piano is so good at that. So I have to concede guitar is not as good for that. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to say. Frank, what's your perspective?
Sure. Yeah. I think what you said, a lot of it makes sense, and a lot of it, I totally agree with that. Just the fact that you said that, and again, I'm no guitarist here, so I'm gonna have to take your word for this one. But you're right. It is easier for you to simulate a piano than it is to say than the other way around. What I will say about the piano, and I think you mentioned I can't say it. Versatility, is that how you say it?
Versatility, yeah.
Versatility, there you go. That's the word I was looking for. I wanna have to disagree with you on that. I think that piano, one of the reasons why piano attracts so many musicians to begin with, is because of its versatility, right? Because you can pretty much play in all different, you can play in all four harmonics of music. And I think that it really gives you a wide range of really gives you like a wide range of musical sounds that you're trying to produce. And I think that prior to what you said about how guitar can simulate the piano but not the other way around, to me, I think that with an electric piano, if you put it on a certain software, you can actually simulate a guitar sound, and you can do it maybe not as well, obviously, as like a real guitar, but you can still definitely get it quite close. I think that I just think another thing that's great about with the piano is that it's one of those instruments that you see. I don't want to say it's necessarily easier than other instruments, but I will say is that the instant gratification on a piano, I feel like it's a little bit better than, say, a guitar, because I've tried playing the guitar, and I'm probably gonna pick it up, maybe sometime next month, because I'm definitely want to learn guitar. I think it's really cool. But when I tried to play the guitar way back in 7th grade, It was, and at that time, I was already pretty proficient on the piano already. It was hard. It was really, really hard, like the strums and stuff like that. So it can be pretty, it can be pretty discouraging. Whereas I feel like piano, it's very hard to master, but at the same time, to just play some basic, simple piano songs like Mary Had a Little Lamb or Hot Cross Buns, you can, it's much easier, in my opinion, than say playing it on the guitar. I also think that, a lot of music, I think that piano at the end of the day is don't hate on me for this, but I think that piano sort of, it's like the math, quote unquote, of like music, because it's sort of like the foundation for all other instruments. And I think that if you master the piano, or maybe, okay, master's too far stretch of a word, because I don't think I've mastered the piano yet.
I
But
disagree. I think you have.
no, thank you. I appreciate it. Well, no, I'm still no. I think there's always no. Mastery is yeah. We won't get yeah. No, I
Maybe
think
just neo soul. You've mastered neo soul.
no. I wouldn't say I mastered neo so more. It's more like I've mastered. I don't think I mastered. No, okay, fine. Maybe the basics I've mastered. Like how to play with your hands, but even then could be improved on. But anyways, back to what I was saying. I think that once you get good at the piano, learning other instruments can be easier. Not in the sense that you'll be able to play the instrument easier. I think that it's more like because once you can play the piano, you get a really solid understanding of music and music theory, because of how practicality the entire keyboard is. It really gives you it really gives you the full experience of what music has to offer, because you can play at very low notes, you can play at very high notes, you can also play notes right in between, and so you really get the full spectrum of what music has to offer. Whereas I feel like other instruments, and I think in this case the guitar lacks, is that it doesn't have that, right? I mean, it's very, I mean, I don't think it's possible, for the guitar to play a melody and the accompaniment at the same time, but piano can. And I think that, one of my music teachers, and that ironically, she happens to be Russian, by the way. But anyways, she said to me something that's really interesting. And she said that, piano is one of those instruments that you can play any instrument you want on the piano. You can play the bass, you can play the guitar, anything you want. You can play any voicings. I don't know if it's called voices, but like you can play any part of other instruments. Like she said to me, you could form a band just with the piano. And I definitely agree with that. And I think that, if you add 2 extra hands, so let's say, let's say you could play the piano, Kevin, like if I was to, like play with my 2 hands, one part, and then you could, and then you had 2 extra hands to play with yours. I think it could be really, I think it could be really, really fantastic. And you could just form a band, and you could just get the full spectrum of music. So that's really sort of why I think that piano is amazing.
Awesome. I agree with a lot of what you said. So you were mentioning that like starting out, it's easier to produce sounds that you like on a piano than with a guitar. I agree with that. Like for kids learning an instrument, I think learning piano, you get a lot more of the rewards faster. So
Yep.
as a first instrument, if you're like younger and you don't have that much patience, I think piano definitely is better for that.
Yep.
You were also saying that like it's cool that you can play like multiple melodies at once because you have 2 hands. I do think piano is definitely better for that. You can do it on guitar, so it's not impossible to play accompaniment and melody. So the way you would do it on guitar, the easiest way to do it is with finger picking. So what you can do, for example, is you could have a bass melody with your thumb. So let's say your thumb is going like boom, 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 and then you could play the melody with your fingers. So that's a way that
yeah. I know what you mean. I think I've seen that before. I've seen like I don't know, maybe it was you did it, but watching some YouTube guy, he was just plucking it. Well, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like so classical guitarists do that a lot. Like
yeah.
they have like melodies that they're playing with their thumb, and then they have other melodies that they're playing with their fingers, and then of course with the fretting hand, all you have to do is you have to kind of split your hand up where, like, let's say
Right,
that you might use these two fingers to play the bass line and then these two fingers to play the melody. So it's like you are kind of limited because you have to be able to fret all of the parts with only one hand. So you're definitely more limited. You can get really
right.
creative, but you can do way more in terms of accompanying yourself on a piano. And then as for like you're talking about like simulating a piano with a guitar,
Mm-hmm.
I find that's very difficult. Actually, that's not really what I was
Really?
talking
Okay.
about. So you can't, the way you would simulate a piano by playing guitar is you would have a pickup. So this would be an electric guitar.
Uh-huh.
You'd have a pickup that's a MIDI pickup. So the pickup would transform your guitar signal into MIDI notes, and then you could use those to control a piano simulator. So you can do it, but it's kind of an annoying way to play piano because like you don't get two hands. You'd still be playing
Mm-hmm.
guitar, so it's like you'd be playing like a handicapped version of piano because you don't like get the full ability to play it. It's like you
Mm.
have all the limits of guitar without the advantages kind of. So
Okay.
the what I was more talking about was that if you can use a program like Ableton or Pro Tools, you can kind of draw the notes and then get that to play it.
Okay.
And then so definitely for electric pianos, we have ways of simulating a guitar with that. Like if you have different selected timbres inside your electric keyboard, often there's a guitar setting. But to me, it's way less authentic than the other way around. Like so,
Mhm.
just the tone, because with guitar, often you're playing multiple notes on the same string. So like when we listen to a guitar, we want to hear that note kind of being stopped and then started again. Like the stopping and the starting of the string is part of the sound of a guitar, whereas a piano, it's all different strings. So when you play guitar stuff on a piano, it tends to sound like you're playing like a 200 string guitar. Like it sounds like every note is on a different string, and you kind of
Mhm.
lose the signature sound of the guitar. Like it
Okay.
sounds kind of like a harpsichord in my opinion. So I
Okay.
would say like it's very difficult to get an authentic sound of a guitar from a
Uh-huh.
piano, but I will agree that it's probably a better instrument for beginners, and it's way better
Oh,
for
definitely.
playing
Definitely. I
multiple
feel like
lines at once.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now, the thing I'll say about the guitar is that, and again, you might be like, what? You're probably gonna be like, what is this man talking about? But my honest, and we've had this discussion before, but my honest opinion is that I truly believe, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I truly, truly believe that with the piano, it's easy to begin with, but if you want to reach a really high level, it takes, like that's when it gets really hard. Whereas I feel like guitar, you know, because it's not as because like I just don't think it's as versatile as the piano. So because of that, I think that, and don't get me wrong, guitar is still very, very hard to master, but I feel like, it's I would say I say not master, but let's just say get good at, right? So it's because like I don't think anyone, like unless you're Beethoven or Mozart, I don't think anyone truly can master an instrument, do anything they want on the piano. I
Except Frank Lee music.
right. Thank you. Wow, that's a great compliment, man. That's awesome. Appreciate it, bud. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Let's just say get good at, right? So I think that, with the guitar, it's just it's easy. It's hard at first, but I think that, it gets easier. I don't want to say easy, but easier, as you progress. But whereas with the piano, it's vice versa. It's it's not super hard to begin with because sorry, because piano at the end of the day, it's just, you're just pressing keys, right? And then as long as you can do that, you can play the piano, and then you just gotta have a bit of hand-eye coordination, and then you're good to go. But with the guitar, it can be really hard. But the higher up you go, the more things you have to do with your hands, and then left hand's got to do this, and then right hand you got to do all these crazy stuff. It can it's definitely very told. It can definitely get very tough, and yeah, I just also think that with and I also just think that when you're starting off, it can really hurt your wrist. I had a friend who I tried to teach the piano, and he really struggled, with his wrist. I want to ask you one more question right now. Now both of us began learning instruments at a very young age, right? And some of the guys that I'm teaching right now, they've never touched an instrument till now, and they're like in their early 20s. And what I've noticed is that things that I just clicked when I was a kid, even with the piano, they're not picking it up, and to them it's really hard. It's like, what, like I didn't, and they would tell me, I didn't know it's, and the vibe I get is, I didn't know it's so hard to just press a couple of keys. So I want to ask you, do you think age is a big factor when it comes to learning these instruments? Like, do you think that like the older you get, it's actually, regardless of how quote unquote people say easy the instrument is, it just gets harder, like the older you get. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say that if you're like above 60, I would say it definitely gets harder because, for example, you might have something like arthritis and like
Right.
the human brain also, like when you get to like age 60 plus, there is a bit of human brain shrinkage. Like you're not quite
Right.
as mentally sharp. But as for, in my opinion, now I could be wrong. In my opinion, I don't think that a 20-year-old would learn guitar slower than a 10-year-old. I think that
Really?
if you start at age 20, you're probably not going to be as good as your friend who started earlier. So like,
Right,
let's
of
say
course.
that you and your friend are both the same age, but your friend started earlier. I think your friend will be better than you probably.
Oh
But
yeah.
I don't think you're actually learning slower at
Okay.
when you're older, like unless you're like 60. Because the reason I think that is like, I think often we mistake someone, like we think someone learned really fast, but in reality they didn't learn fast. They have 20 years of experience. So like,
Okay.
because I think that like, so there of course are certain students who pick it up really fast, and like, you may have your own like experience of how long it took you, and then it might have been though that even if another person started earlier, they might have still had a much harder time than you, just because it's a harder thing for their brain to understand. Like they're less musically inclined. So
Right.
yeah, I personally don't think that you learn it slower at an older age. It's just that you've banked less progress. Like if you started at age 10, you've had all this time to kind of
Right.
gain experience. But like 10-year-olds, like they're less disciplined, they have a harder time sitting still. Their brain isn't fully developed. Like they have a hard time like focusing on things for long periods of time. I think they're actually a bit slower. It's just that if you start that young, you just get so much practice by the time you're 25.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Maybe my friend, he just wasn't very musically talented. No, I'm just kidding.
Like, I
That
mean,
was a
I've
joke.
had students like
I'm just kidding.
I've taught guitar sometimes, and like sometimes like just some students just pick it up way faster, like regardless
Yeah,
of
that's
age. Like
fair.
some people, they just have like a natural sense of rhythm, and I
Yeah.
think that most people can develop that over time. But some people, like, they just pick it up way
Yeah.
faster. And I think
Yeah.
that just can happen at any age.
Yeah. I really regret, like one of the other things. Oh, speaking of, yeah, one other thing I want to mention is, and I'm surprised you didn't bring this up, but one bonus point for the guitar is, I think that I just like the portability of the guitar. That's probably one of the biggest reasons why I want to learn how to play the guitar, because it's so portable. I could have a guitar right now. If I could play, I could have a guitar right now, go out onto the streets or any public venue and entertain thousands of people. Whereas with this thing over here, I'm not going to carry that thing around with me. It's crazy unless I keep it at home. So that's one of the things. And it's it can also be a good seduction tool. It can be, it's great for serenading.
I will say also, but for your issue of like portability, these days that's less of an issue because there are some really portable keyboards. Like especially like if you get a MIDI keyboard and you just bring a laptop, like there are MIDI keyboards, especially if you get one that has like 30 to 50 keys, like so not a full size, but big enough that you can play anything. Like you can get a MIDI keyboard that's about the size of a guitar, and I think that that's pretty portable. So I think that's
Okay.
these days, like that's not as bad, but the portability of a guitar is nice because like pretty
It
much
is
all
really
of them are
nice.
pretty portable.
Yeah, like it's so nice, and that's the biggest thing when I learn how to play guitar. I just think it's really cool instrument, and I really kick myself to the fact that I didn't bring this up to my parents earlier, and but hopefully this year it's definitely one of like before the year before 2021 ends. definitely want to pick up the guitar. I think that guitar is I really want to learn. So I'm really, yeah, I just gotta learn how to play this instrument. I think, yeah, no
And then okay,
questions there.
I want to respond to something you were saying earlier. You were saying that like in the beginning it's kind of hard to get the sound with guitar, but over
Yeah,
time like it's less hard because like there's kind of a limit as to what you can
yeah,
do on it. I don't think there's really a skill cap on guitar. Like I think that so
okay,
I agree that with piano to become amazing at it is like extremely difficult. Like
right,
so I would say it's as hard as like any instrument to become
right.
amazing at it because like you can just do so much and you can always find someone who's just doing ridiculous things on the
That's
instrument that
true.
so with piano I agree. And then I think it's very similar with guitar because
Okay.
so for the really advanced guitar players, I genuinely do think that they're doing things that in order to do that, you would have to practice several hours every single day. Like so
Mm.
here's some examples of some techniques like that. So we were talking about how like with finger picking, you can have multiple melodies going on at once, but sometimes you might want to be playing in that style and also have a really fast run in the middle. So you want to be using finger picking but also have like a really fast kind of single note run. That is one skill that is really hard to develop. Like the ability to finger pick with like two fingers and get extreme speeds. To me, that's one skill on guitar where like it genuinely takes like thousands of hours to get good at that. Like
Okay, that's
to
fair.
get the speed of like being able to do this so fast that like you can go digga-digga-digga. Like that's really really hard on guitar.
Right.
And I think that it's definitely not like skill capped. Like you can practice it until you die, basically.
Mhm.
And then also like the percussive stuff people do, like they turn their guitar kind of into a drum set. So they'll be playing a chord and they'll be like boom, boom, cha,
Oh
boom.
yeah, I've
Like
seen
they'll
that before. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I know what you're
that's
talking
also
about.
so like
Yeah,
there is a lot you can do, and I
for
think
sure.
that and then also like being creative with melody, like when you're improvising and you have these really fast notes, but those same like riffs will sound amazing even if you slow them down. So like you're
Right.
playing like all this but also you slow it down and it's actually creative. You're not just going up and down. So I think to develop that, I really think there's no skill cap and like you,
Okay.
I really think like to become a true guitar virtuoso, I think it's as hard as becoming a master at piano. But I wouldn't say it's harder. I'd say they're both about equally hard to
Okay.
master. Yeah.
Sure. So I guess at the end of the day, yeah, yeah. So I guess no, no, I agree with you. So I think that now that you've mentioned that, I think that, piano is great because it teaches you music, right? Like you get a better appreciation for music because you get so many ranges, right? Like you could, right? Like you could, like if you want to learn theory about, bass instruments that usually, that are more bass clef instruments, you learn the piano and you can learn to appreciate that. If you want to, learn treble clef instruments like maybe flute or sorry, the like flute or I don't know, clarinet, I guess. I don't know, just like more higher notes, you can appreciate that. Guitar, yeah, you just can't really do that. You don't really get the full spectrum of what music has to offer. And so I think that's benefit for that. But I think when it comes to technical skill, you know, I think we can agree that when it comes to just technically, they're both equally hard to master. And funny enough, guitar is harder to learn, I'd say, in my opinion, than the piano. So therefore, we can actually assume that guitar is just harder. I think it's when it comes to if you look at it from a technical perspective, it's harder. Yes, I think that there's less theory involved when it comes to guitar, like you're not getting the full spectrum of what music has to offer, whereas piano you do. But I think with the guitar, it's just harder to master, it's just harder to learn, both from the beginning and also if you want to master guitar, like what you said, it's also hard to master as well. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, you're kind of looking at the average of like you're taking the average between how hard is it to get into versus how hard is it to
Yeah,
master. Yeah, if you take that average, you could say that guitar is harder, but I don't know, like definitely it's a case by case basis cuz like
right.
a lot of things on piano
Oh,
are
no, no.
a lot of things on piano are harder than a lot of things on guitar, so it's really just a case by case basis. It
Yeah,
depends
yeah,
on
I
what you're
agree. I
playing.
agree.
Yeah.
Like for example, when I first started trying to play the guitar way back when, it was like, putting the finger on there. I mean, like my fingers are not the most flexible fingers. So that in itself can make it, kind of tough, for me to play specific, notes that I wanted to play. and I don't have the most flexible fingers, which is ironic because I play the piano. So you would think that I would have very flexible fingers, but I don't. Funny enough, and it gets very tiresome, and it's like you gotta strum this. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, so definitely it is a bit harder to get into. But you also mentioned something that I think is important. You were saying that like with music theory, like piano is better at teaching you that, and I think that that's true. Like,
yeah, I definitely think that's true.
if you're trying to like see all the notes in front of you and understand kind of how they fit together, I think that
Yeah.
piano is better for
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like,
It definitely gives you I think a better appreciation for music. Like, there was, like music, a lot of music professors, because I took music classes in university before, and a lot of them, they use piano as the basis to teach you how this works. And I think and a lot of music professors even advise you to go take, even if you're trying to pursue a degree in music, to go take some piano lessons, because then you can truly appreciate the theory. And yeah, I think theory is important, you know like, I'm not saying to be a theory master. I'm no theory master. I mean, there's so many things that I have no idea. I'm like, what is this, what is that? But just playing the piano, I think, you can, no, I just think that you can really sort of appreciate, just music theory. So
for sure. And also, because you see all the notes in front of you, I think that piano is better for songwriting. So I personally, if I'm writing on an instrument, I use guitar, but that's because I'm more familiar with it. But if I were equally familiar with both instruments, I think I would probably use piano.
The piano, right?
Yeah, you can just see it all in front of you, and you can much more easily like you can accompany yourself on guitar, like as we were saying, but it takes a lot more. Like, you have to almost script it. Like, it's way harder to improvise guitar accompaniment, just because like you're only using one hand, so you really have to know where you're going. So with piano, like, you can definitely like improvise better if you're accompanying yourself. And for songwriting, since it's all in front of you, I think
I think guitar is really good for accompanying, because like, if you're just gonna play chords and stuff like that, like, I think piano, I think guitar, you don't see a lot of piano players, accompanying, like, especially any big musician we know, they don't usually accompany the piano. I mean, I think they should, but that's just my biased opinion. But I think that I think that guitar is great for for accompanying yourself. I think that most musicians use the guitar for accompanying, so they don't really think about the piano that much. So
I think they do. No, but they're okay. Like, let me name some examples. Olivia Rodrigo, Driver's License. That's piano
that's
accompaniment.
true. That's piano.
John Legend,
John Legend,
that song. Yeah, he uses that.
Yeah, I know. Mm-hmm.
Let It Be by the Beatles is piano accompaniment, at least at the start.
Sure.
Imagine.
But I think a lot of modern artists, like Justin Bieber, Shawn Mendes, Ariana Grande.
But even Justin Bieber. Okay, Justin Bieber, his song
Peaches,
Anyone,
right?
I think Anyone is mostly a piano song.
Sure. No,
and then
I think,
yeah.
I think that they're slowly transitioning to piano, which is fantastic. But I think for most of the time, it's mostly just either just singing with his voice, or he was accompanying himself on the guitar. So
actually, now that I'm thinking of it, I might be wrong about Anyone. Like, it might be a guitar song. I haven't heard Anyone, and like, that song, like, I don't exactly remember, so I might be wrong about the but the song Where Are You Now, that's a piano song by Justin Bieber. I really like that song. So I think there are examples of both.
Also Peaches as well, like, if you took a look at Peaches, it's also a like, if you watched his Tiny Desk concert, it was also it was also with the piano. So
one other thing I thought of, though, actually, with guitar, I think that you have more options in terms of rhythm when you're playing chords. Here's what I mean. So with piano, let's say you're hitting chords. The thing is, if you're playing chords on a piano, you only play the chord on the downstroke. So like, when you push down, then the chord happens. But on guitar, you can do it on down and up. So piano, like, if you're it's all downstrokes. Like, you're like, da 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 da. It's all but with guitar, you can go like down, down, up. So like, because you can do down and up.
So I guess it's more verse. So are you saying that There's more
I think
versatility when it comes to rhythm for the guitar.
for playing chords, I would say like you can play like solid chords with more changes in rhythm because like for
Okay.
example,
Yeah.
if you take a song like Wake Me Up by Avicii, like dum da ticka ticka dum da ticka ticka, like all the ticka
Yeah.
ticka,
I've
that's
seen that.
very hard to play on
Yeah,
piano
I've seen that
because
before.
you'd have to be like like you'd have to like twitch your hands so fast to do that because you're only doing downstrokes, you can't do upstrokes, so that's
Right.
one other advantage of guitar.
Right. Oh no, no, I absolutely agree. I think that, you can definitely be more creative with the rhythm than say on the guitar, than say on the piano. I think that, there's only so much I can do on the piano because it's always the downstroke. So I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that I've pretty much said all my points. Anything else you want to say?
Besides the fact, I pretty much said everything except for the fact that I think piano's the best. I'm just kidding. No,
Fair enough.
no,
No, fair enough.
I agree. I agree. No, no, I think that everything. Yeah, I pretty much said all my points too. Yeah, yeah, I think there really, there really isn't much I have to add. So,
I guess ending it here then.
all right, we'll end it here. All right. Anyways, it was a good chat, and hopefully we can do more in the future.
Yeah, sounds
Thank
good. I
you.
had a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
time. I can't wait to be on your channel again when you're
Oh, thank
celebrating
you. Yeah,
when
yeah.
you
First of all,
celebrate
yeah.
your 1 million subscriber milestone that
Oh,
should
that
be
would
coming
be
up.
great. Yes,
Yeah.
and to anyone that's watching, go and subscribe to my boy Kevin here. What's your yeah, like, do you want to tell everyone what's your YouTube channel name?
Yeah, my YouTube channel is Beats Save the World.
All right.
So,
I'll put yep. It's just Beat Save the World, right?
yeah, that's right.
Perfect. I'll put a link down in the description below, so that way, you guys can go check out his stuff. But yeah, he's doing some great stuff. I think, I think the next song that you're coming out is Versace's on the Floor by Bruno Mars, right?
Yeah, I am working on a cover for that. So I'm
Beautiful,
trying
beautiful.
to
So yes,
train and we'll see how
yes.
that
So
goes.
please, go and support my brother here, and he's gonna be doing some great stuff, and hopefully, he can also get his. Hopefully he can also get to his 1 million subscribers, and that would be fantastic. All
All right, sounds good. See you next time.
right, sounds good. Bye bye.